Welcome to the 3 Knockdown Rule. Starring Mario Lopez and Steve Kim. Presented by Hustler Casino.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 Knockdown Rule is back in effect, brought to you by Hustler Casino. I'm Steve Kim, and I'm joined by our Pat Mahomes, untouchable. God, I can't breathe on Mario Lopez.
I don't like that moniker. I don't like that at all as a Chargers fan, but thank you. Also, Smoking Tim Frazier and
Tino on the edits. We have a jam-packed show, the bout sheet for this week, the return of the monster, and Mario interviews David Feldman, the head of BKFC. We have fight preview, news and notes, and Ask Mario, and final flurries. But we just want you to know this podcast is sponsored by Hustler Casino, open 24/7 and located just 15 minutes from downtown LA. Play now to earn drawing tickets for the Lunar New Year Lucky Money Tree drawings on Wednesday, January 29th. They will be giving away red envelopes all day filled with crisp cash, special VIP gifts, and a celebratory lion dance to kick off the year of the snake. You don't want to miss out.
Round one.
All right, round number one. Mario, we finally have some fights on the docket.
Yeah, we do.
Friday morning on ESPN Plus from Ariake Arena, Bonsai. It's the return of the monster, the junior featherweight champion of the world, Inoue, takes on my nephew, Jun Kim. And Mario, I asked a gambling friend of mine, Fight Ghost at Twitter, I know him personally, I said, what are the odds for this fight? And he said, well, it started off at 66-1, and then it was bet up early to 100-1, and now it's currently up to 125-1. So I'm going to say this right now. If my nephew pulls off the upset, it's probably the biggest upset of the last, 100 years.
I was actually present at 100-1 upset.
Danny Romero,
Yes.
Willie Salazar.
Exactly. I was there. Can you believe that? At 100-1. So it can happen. So it's possible.
Yeah.
But do I think it's going to happen? 125 sounds about right. And listen, you can't blame Inoue for this. Inoue has been shown up to and been prepared, and what happens with opponents happens with opponents.
Yeah, Sam Goodman. I mean, if you would have took the old Kimster's advice, you would have had a hockey goalie's mask on. You would have looked like Jason, but you know what? You would have got to the dance. You'd have earned the payday. Sam Goodman's been ruled out for 6 months. I think he may have lost his payday. I don't want to think that he ducked the fight or anything like that, but I have to just say it again. Once you get cut the first time and the fight is backed up, I believe your trainer has an obligation to put you in saran wrap or a Pope mobile to make sure if the payday's worth it, son, got to get to the dance.
Of course, the trainer is in a tough position because he wants you to be well prepared, and to be well prepared, you have to get some good sparring in. But considering the circumstances and the payday that's looming, you do have to maybe shave off the sparring days and just do a lot more shadow boxing and alternative workouts, because this is what can happen.
Yeah, I've seen some footage of Jun Kim, not exactly Jae-hoon Kim, who was much better, or In-jin Chi. I don't give him any shot. I think it'd be a bigger upset if Hello Kitty could upset Godzilla. I just don't see it happening.
Maybe he channels Willie Salazar. Hey, it's happened.
Wasn't that a freak thing where the eye blew up?
The eye blew up from a punch, though.
Yeah, that's
Kim.
the thing.
It threw it from not a headbutt. It threw it from a legal punch. It was a straight right hand down the middle. Couldn't believe it.
But Inoue is one of these guys, I get the sense when I'm looking at the training footage in his interviews, he could be fighting King Kong, Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, or Godzilla. It doesn't matter. He has a certain laser focus.
Yep. He's going to come prepared.
Looking at his 2025, I may get my wish. I want to see Inoue in America. I believe it's going to happen. Mark off that weekend, Lopez. It's going to happen in Las Vegas, and he's going to fight the Mexican artist, David Picasso. Ooh. I believe that's one of his mandatories, and then he might even fight MJ Akhmadaliev later this year, and eventually maybe he fights Junto Nakatani, and then maybe he moves up to 126. So there's a lot of things happening with the monster. And this right here, again, you're right. It's not his fault. And to keep this into perspective, Sam Goodman was a big underdog. Not 125-1, but according to Ring Magazine, he was number 3 in the division. So he's a respected contender. I'm not so sure Kim is even in the top 25, but again, circumstances dictate what is going on this weekend.
That's true.
Also, reported late last week by my old friend Chava Rodriguez at ESPN, Mario, we've got some stuff going on with this group of fighters. It looks like Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney are going to have a rematch, but there's a plan leading into it. They're going to fight separate fights, not at the Garden in New York, but on Times Square. Never heard of that. And it's going to be Ryan Garcia against Pitbull Cruz, and then Devin Haney's going to fight Jose Ramirez. Then it's a prelude to a fall rematch.
I like this. I like it a lot. By the way, not a gimme fight for both Garcia and Haney. I think they're not soft touches, but they're very competitive fights. And if all things bode well, I think we're going to get that inevitable showdown. Was the weight mentioned at all? Are
No.
we talking welterweight? Because I highly doubt Garcia and Haney can both make junior welter.
It's going to be junior welter-ish.
Oh, it's going to catch weight?
Well, no, maybe the tune-up bouts. If they're not title fights, what's the difference?
No, I understand, but let's assume they get past
Although
these
Haney is
six.
still the 140-pound champion.
Well, that's why I ask. I don't think he's got to be bursting from the seams, and I think that was maybe a major factor of what it didn't help him in his last fight versus Ryan.
I still remember when Chavez and De La Hoya fought in the summer of 1996. Several months earlier, it was De La Hoya against Daryl Tyson. And then one of the
remember that.
all-time great nicknames, Chavez fought Scott the Pink Cat Walker.
Yep.
I think these guys are a little bit better, but Pitbull Cruz is small for a 135-pounder. But you know what's funny, though? I think stylistically, he's not going to win a round. Ryan's going to have a pretty tough time getting him out of there because that guy's a little fire hydrant. He's so
is.
short.
And he gets inside, and he's good at getting inside, and he's got his bob and weaves. Ryan does good against guys who are nice and upright, and he's able to
The hook
jab
over
and
the
hook
top.
over the top. When it's down,
Yeah.
we have to work on those uppercuts. It's a different type of fight. I think it's a really good fight. I like that. He is taking on a tough competitor. Look, we talked about Ramirez too, being maybe a little long in the tooth now, but he does come prepared. He is a tough out. He will be in your face come to fight, so I like that fight for Haney as well.
We're going to see how much Ramirez has left against
And Haney.
Well, Haney, psychologically and chin-wise, we don't know. There's some intrigue here.
Exactly.
I hope Jose Ramirez gets into the hot tub time machine, and we can get that active, two-fisted attack that we saw from 2016
Right.
to 2020-ish. You never know. Again, we don't know what version of Devin Haney exists at this point.
Exactly.
Everyone looks good working out. Everyone looks good against air. But till you get touched again, we don't know what happens. But that's going to happen. We've got more news and notes
Correct
coming.
me, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you say Times Square?
Yes.
In Times Square?
Yeah. They're going to set up some outdoor thing.
That's kind of cool. What time of year?
It's going to be, I believe, in May.
Okay, so
That's
it's
gonna be
nice.
freezing.
It's not going to be free. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be-
That's in the middle of time. I've never heard of anything like
It's going
that.
to be tied into some movie premiere, and also Ring Magazine's going to be involved.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I love these type of events. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
so
gonna
that'll
happen.
be interesting. And when we come back on the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino, Mario chats with David Feldman.
Joining me now, the man, the president of bare knuckle boxing, my man David Feldman. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Mario. What's going on?
I appreciate you taking the time. I'm really excited. Knuckle Mania going down this Saturday, January 25th at the Wells Fargo Center in your hometown, coincidentally, of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, exclusively on DAZN. I'm so excited about this, David. It must feel incredibly special. Like I said, you're the founder and president of BKFC, and you were a former fighter, son of legendary trainer and manager Murray Feldman. He managed numerous boxing world champions. BKFC has continued to grow into this global phenomenon. It's so unique in the world of combat sports. I've had the pleasure of working with you and being at these events, and it is nonstop action, the best bang for your buck. It's so much fun. People never leave disappointed. As a matter of fact, they want more. Talk a little bit about how you got into this in the first place, David.
Yeah, man, for sure. As you mentioned, I was into boxing. Actually, sorry to correct you. My dad's name was Marty Feldman, though. Trained seven world champions. I saw you on Instagram hitting the pads the other day, and I was like, man, Mario should take those gloves off and step into the bare knuckle.
Hey, there's a couple of guys I'd want to step in there with right now, I'll tell you the truth.
I'm sure there is. I just wanted to create my own lane. Not be a Me Too with boxing anymore, not be a Me Too with MMA anymore, because you can't really set yourself apart. Even these guys that are dumping in tons and tons of money in these new promotions, they're finding it really hard to set themselves apart from the UFC. So I just figured create our own lane, and I figured out bare knuckle fighting. I watched it a lot online. I watched how the Irish Travelers were doing it, and I heard this sound, bang, and I was like, that is it. That's the sound. Like the crowd when this fist hits the skin of the face, and you hear that sound, they get so excited. So I was like, that's it. Let's give it a shot. Thought it was going to be easy. Obviously, getting it regulated. I did my first event on an Indian reservation in Arizona in 2011. Trended #1 on Twitter. We did like 700,000 streams that people tried to pay for, and the paywall crashed. It was really, really unbelievable. So I was like, man, I just created something unbelievable. And, little did I know that the commissioners weren't as happy as I thought they were going to be. And it took me 8 more years, 28 states, 56 attempts at getting it legal. And they said no to me 56 times. Finally, in 2018, I found the commissioner from the state of Wyoming, Brian Pedersen. He gave us a thumbs up. And from that point on, we just grew and grew and grew. And right now, we're in an unbelievable spot in combat sports. One of the most exciting combat sports promotions and events that you'll ever see live or on TV. Like you said, nonstop action, engaging, relatable. Everybody kind of gets it. And, bare knuckle fighting, I think, is the combat sport of the future.
And ironically, combat sport of the future, but it's really sort of the genesis of fighting. In its most primitive original form. I believe it was it the UK that it originally started way back 100 years ago or so?
Started in the UK. The last actual meaningful bare knuckle fight was John L. Sullivan. That was in 1889 until we got illegal.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Until we got illegal in 2018. So you're talking 130 something plus years. And it was, I call it the sport of the past is now the sport of the future. And it really truly is. It's like I said, you have to be there. You have to hear the fist hitting the face in person. It's a sound, if you're a combat sports fan, that really matches nothing else out there.
There's absolutely nothing like it, and it's come full circle. And you've got some great, colorful characters, which is so cool to see, and some real professional talent. Last time I was there, Alfredo Angulo was fighting. Of course, Mike Perry, and then stars from the UFC and Thiago Alves and what have you. These guys are very happy with the pay they're getting. I think we're going to see a lot more world-class athletes in the combat world get into this space. And you've recently partnered too with Conor McGregor. And his involvement is obviously bringing a lot of visibility to the sport, and he's been actively promoting the brand, and he'll be there in Philly as well, correct?
Yeah, he's at the inauguration now, on his way to Philly tomorrow. We've got some big things going on Wednesday: open workout, press conference, weigh-in, which you're going to be there for that. So, and then fight night. It's going to be unbelievable. So, we're doing it at the Wells Fargo Center. It's where the Philadelphia 76ers play. It's where the Philadelphia Flyers play. It's also where the UFC had done 2 events there, and where multiple professional world championship boxing matches took place. And we will, on Saturday night, break the combat sports attendance record at that facility in Philadelphia, which is, I think it really says a lot for us in only 6 years into this thing, and kind of being the new kid on the block. But I mean, it showed where the sport is growing, and also that, the hometown of Philadelphia has definitely come out to support this thing. And now, as you mentioned, Philadelphia Eagles are in the conference championship on Sunday. So it's going to be, a pregame to that. And it's just going to be an amazing sports weekend, right? Like one of the best sports weekends in Philadelphia in a long, long time.
It's going to be such an incredible weekend in Philadelphia. It feels like the perfect home for this type of event. The largest combat sports attendance record of over 18,000. That is going to be just incredible right there. And as far as the event itself, too, we're going to have Eddie Alvarez versus Jeremy Stevens. And Eddie, of course, underground king, former champion in both Bellator, UFC. He's always made great fights. And Jeremy, another UFC veteran, Little Heathen, as he's known. He's got over 30 fights in the organization. This is guaranteed explosive matchup right here, David.
Yeah, man, it's going to be unbelievable. Neither of these guys have a reverse gear. They just go forward. They're going to bang it out. Philadelphia is going to be very happy. At the first introduction press conference that we did, Jeremy Stevens made a statement and said, Philadelphia is the city of runner-ups, the city of losers. And Eddie Alvarez and the fans certainly didn't take well to that. And I just worry a little bit that he's going to make another statement like that this week at the press conference. And, the Philadelphia fans are hyped this week. So, I'm hoping that he controls what he's saying. But listen, there was a lot of great build up to it. Two great fighters that really know how to fight, right? Mario, this isn't boxing. This isn't mixed martial arts. This is fighting. This truly is fighting. And these two guys want to fight. They know how to fight. And that's all they want to do is get in the center of that squared circle and fight.
There's nothing like Philadelphia fans. I'll never forget being a kid and watching them throw snowballs at Santa Claus during a game right now during Christmas time. I was like, hey, these guys are hardcore.
Like it, man. Anytime the Dallas Cowboys are in town, man, they're throwing beer cans, beer bottles, everything at their bus. It's crazy.
Damn, Feldman.
Philadelphia fans, man, they come out, if they love you, they love you. And if they hate you, they hate you. And we're lucky enough to have them really love bare knuckle fighting right now. And then once they actually see it live, I think it's going to be, another franchise in Philadelphia.
I really do believe they are going to love it, especially when they get a taste of it. One more fight I just want to get to real quick, Mick Terrell and Ben Rothwell. These are a couple of heavyweights, and this is going to be for the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship. These guys, it doesn't take much with just one or two punches maybe, and that could be all she wrote, but it is a whole nother level when you're fighting bare knuckle, and especially at a heavyweight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And both of these guys, again, these are the same type of thing. It has to be an exciting fight because both of these guys only know how to come forward. And when you only know how to come forward, it's a collision course. And they both are big hitters. They can both crack. They're both very, very strong. And I'm really looking forward to that match. I think that's going to be a sensational match as well. And I think the fans are going to be in a treat for that one.
Yeah, and again, I could personally speak to being at these events are so much fun. My wife even went. She had a great time. Take your lady. She'll have a lot of fun. And David, I got to tell you, just saw an interview recently with you with a buddy of mine, with Ariel, and you've always been such a likable guy, but I was so impressed with your backstory. I don't want to get too much into it, but man, you really went through some stuff. How can someone not root for you with everything you have went through right there as far as just really quick, your mother, who got killed? What happened? You raised yourself, and can you give me the Cliff Note version?
Yeah, my mom got beaten up really, really bad and ended up as a quadriplegic. And then she ended up got married while she was hurt and ended up getting killed by her then husband. So it was a tough upbringing. A lot of people have stories, right? A lot of people have backgrounds that people don't know about, but I just use mine to drive me to never quit and to be as successful as I can and go for what I want and get me and my family everything that we're set out to really get. And I think by having those kind of troubles in my life, in my past, really gave me the fuel to succeed. And, on this Saturday night, we're going to really succeed.
Well, there's nothing you can't handle. And again, how can we not root for you? After that, you've got nothing but love and support from me, my friend. So congratulations. I'm looking forward to being there. Again, it is going down, Knucklemania, Saturday, January 25th at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, exclusively on DAZN. Be sure to check it out. You will not be disappointed. David, thanks so much for your time, man. And I will see you on Friday.
Awesome, Mario. Take care, bud.
And we'll be back with more of the 3 Knockdown Rule.
Streaming live right on YouTube.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
$1.2 million.
And I'm losing in this fucking game. What the fuck?
There's a 400K flip. If I win by way, you get 10 grand.
Fucking straddle!
For my fans.
What? I read it twice. Wow. All in a call.
I'm not fucking leaving.
Raise it up.
And we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino. Ladies and gentlemen, are you looking to get involved with the 3 Knockdown Rule and sponsor our fine program? We still have some spots available. Please email info@boxbid.io. Once again, that's info@boxbid.io. Boxbid is an online platform that helps professional boxers connect with their fans by providing exclusive Fight Week merchandise, memorabilia, and sponsorships. You can even buy a shout-out on Boxbid. Boxbid.io handles our sponsorships, and we are proudly working with Boxbid.io.
News and notes.
All right, news and notes. Mario, I think there's some light at the end of the tunnel for the locomotive named Teofimo Lopez. Word that I'm getting, and it's spreading on the internet, he has signed a 3-fight deal with Turki Al-Sheikh, and this is what I've been told about it. They're going to try to organize a unification bout with fellow 140-pound champion Richardson Hitchens, and then Boots Ennis. We'll have some more news on him in a little bit, and I believe probably at 147, and then eventually get the winner of Garcia-Haney, probably next year.
Couple of thoughts. We were just texting a little while back how frustrated we were with Tio because it felt like he was dying on the vine, all that talent, and the momentum just comes to a screeching halt after these big wins. And then we hear this announcement. You say he's signing with Turki Al-Sheikh. Is he no longer involved with Top Rank? Is this in conjunction?
It's in conjunction. Everyone gets a piece of the pie.
That's
the
fair,
way it works. Yeah.
That's fair. Then I'm glad. Then I love this. Absolutely love this. However, I wouldn't exactly be thrilled with the route that I'm taking. I love that Turki wants to make these tough fights, but I think his toughest test, being Tio, is Boots Ennis, even more so than Haney and Garcia. Do you agree?
I do, because that guy's a big 47 that'll one day be 54 and 60, and the movement and the overall talent. But Mario, let's not put the cart before the horse. Richardson Hitchens is a pure boxer. Correct. What has he had issues with recently?
You're exactly right. And look, and we've discussed this before, Tio really steps up when called upon and when the lights are the brightest. We've seen it with Loma, we've seen it with Taylor. Now when he has his big 3-fight deal sort of looming with these big paydays, then one would think he's going to come really, really prepared, not take anything lightly because one leads to the other. So I expect to see the best version of Tio. It's going to get interesting, assuming he gets past Hitchinson. Is the fight, does he jump up to 47? Yeah. Is he going to stay at 40? Where does the Haney-Garcia potential fight happen at? What weight? It's all going to get really interesting. And a lot of things got to fall into place, but I like it.
Yeah. And look, no soft touches. If you're going to take that Turki money, you're going to have to make some real fights. Hitchens is a tough style, talented kid. He's cocky. He believes in himself. You're going to earn your money. Again, speaking of which, Jaron Ennis. These boots are made for unifying. Eddie Hearn got the job done. It's being reported by Keith Idek of Ring Magazine. Jaron Ennis will put up his belt against the belt of Imanis Stanionis April 12th in luxurious Atlantic City.
I love that fight. I'll tell you, though, Kim, like I mentioned last time, I was a little concerned with him squeezing himself down to the weight class. He's going to do it yet again. It's a big opportunity for Stanionis if he's able to hang in there and maybe catch him in the later rounds. A big fan of Boots, but I feel like he's bursting out the seams and he's doing himself a disservice, squeezing himself down to this weight class. I think he'll shine even more once he starts stepping up in weight.
Stanionis is a hard-nosed, rugged, two-fisted grinder. Not great one-punch power, but he beats on you. Leaves bruises all over your body. Here's what I think. Chikadze does not hit as hard or as often as Stanionis, but he has some movements where Boots has to move his feet and kind of chase him once in a while and lay traps. Stanionis is always going to just come down the front door. He's going to come right down the middle and pitch fastballs. It might be an easier style, but again, if he gets hit with the same type of shots that he did back in November, you're right. We don't know what version of really we're getting right now at 47 with Boots Ennis. I get the sense he's very close to the expiration date as a welterweight. And Mario, a fight that has been talked about for seemingly at least half a year, and it is not going to happen. It was announced over the weekend. Errol Spence, Sebastian Fundora, in the immortal words of Iron Mike Tyson, has gone to Bolivian.
That will make it, what, a year and a half since Spence?
July 29th, 2023 was the Crawford fight.
Can you believe that? I can't
believe here's the thing. I think this is actually good for Spence. I never liked this fight. I think for Errol Spence, if you want to see what you have left, I wouldn't have gone and faced the Towering Inferno. I would have faced me. In other words, get some tomato cans. Heinz, Clamato, V8. But to go right in there after that long layoff, to face a guy that towers over you, that throws a lot of punches and puts you through the wood chipper, no. I would have gone to Tune-Up City and just taken less money. Now, here's the thing that I don't like. Fundora last year had this career-defining victory against Tim Tszyu. That was March 30th of last year. So you're waiting around. and you get nothing.
Well, you can't really blame Fundora, though, because it looked like it was going to happen. It was there. So what is his next move now? What are we thinking?
Remember, he has some belts, which means he has obligations. I know a guy that's willing to step up right now and to do the fight, and it was a fight they were supposed to do last year. Guy that's right here about 5-6 months ago.
Who's that?
Sergey Boachuk.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do that.
That's a fun fight.
That's a very fun fight.
He looked good in Saudi Arabia.
Yes, and so keep this in mind. Sebastian Fundora has some belts. He has obligations in terms of mandatories. I believe Boachuk is pretty high up there in one of those things. I'll call Tom Loeffler, see what their positioning is going to be.
I like that.
Also this weekend on Saturday night from the Cosmo in Las Vegas on The Zone, brought to you by Matchroom Boxing, Diego Pacheco, bright young super middleweight prospect, steps up against Stone Cold Steve Nelson from Bud Crawford's camp. This is his first real fight. Also, the talented Andy Cruz and Tito Mercado are on the undercard. Moving along, Ask Mario segment of the program. We're bringing this back from Ryan Longer. Hey guys, how have ticket sales been for Benavidez versus Morrell? That's a fight I would like to attend. Okay, Ryan, I spoke to Jim Boone of KO Tickets. He believes that the fight is selling decent. He believes there'll be about 10,000. Most of the upper levels, I think, have been pulled. They never really opened them up. But according to him, the ticket market is decent. So it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to get inside the T-Mobile.
And I think you'll get your money's worth.
And I think it's a good card.
Too. Really good
and
card.
Morrell Benavidez,
like
we'll talk more next week with Jim Lampley, scheduled to be with us.
Looking
the
forward
real
to that.
fight. Here's one from Ignacio Ortiz. Inoue is rumored to be fighting Alan Picasso next in the U.S., and any truth to the rumor that Vaquero Navarrete might be retiring soon.
Oh.
Only 30.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I haven't heard that at all.
No, I think you're going to have to kick him out of there physically. Pull him kicking and streaming. That guy just loves to fight.
He does. What's that old line? Why do you fight?
Can't sing or dance.
Right, and so he's only 30 years old. Yeah. And look, he perpetually looks like he's slipping because his technique's not exactly fundamental or textbook. Right. But the version that we saw about 6 weeks ago against Oscar Valdez looks like he's not down to the nub.
He looks better than ever to me.
Right, so I don't know. I'll try to ask a few people. I know Top Rank has his fights, but I believe his lead promoter is actually Zanfer in Mexico. And yeah, I do think that the monster will make at least one more appearance in America. Okay. So if you want to see him live, you can get that off your bucket list. Here's one from Clay Stevenson, loyal fan of the show. Hey, Mario, any chance you can bring in trainer Julian Chua to the show?
You know, I just saw Julian this morning when I was training over at Brick House. We always have great discussions, and he listens to the show and he likes it. Yeah, let's invite him.
Let's invite him anytime. Again, more about your schedule than his. Well, he's Asian. But anyway, doing a great job with Zurdo Ramirez. Some news on Zurdo. Looks like Zurdo is going to have to fight Yornito Dorticos, his WBA mandatory.
I'm going to call him right after we're done here.
But I believe there's a chance that he is going to have to face, because Turkey's going to make a great offer for Jai Opataya.
Ooh.
Now,
I like that fight.
I'll say this. Opataya is still the game's best cruiserweight. He is still a favorite over Zurdo. But last year at this time, I would have said Zurdo is a 20-1 underdog. Based on what I've seen recently and the way Zurdo has kind of filled into 200 pounds, he's probably about a 3-1 underdog. I think he's got a shot to make it competitive.
I think he's got the skills and the savvy to outbox him and possibly even pull off the upset.
Here's one from the Filthy Casual, my guy Alex. Yes, it's wonderful that Turkey's undoing the damage done by the quote-unquote size of the street era. But is there also a downside to him making unnecessary fights that nobody asked for, like Jared Big Baby Anderson versus Bacoli, simply because he can?
I like that fight. You don't like that fight?
I like that fight. Here's the thing. Why not?
Yeah, of course.
Jared Anderson wanted
casual.
Yeah, he wanted to make money.
Right.
Turkey, from what I understood, offered him a lot of money. And so why not fight a real guy? You weren't there in the venue yet, though. You were still in traffic. When I watched that, I said, okay, Jared, if you think you're ready to make the big money, you want to go to the deep end of the pool, let's see if you can swim.
Right.
Now, he drowned, okay? But the reality is this. I want to see fights. Exactly. If it's all about everyone being undefeated before they get to a title shot, That's not real boxing.
And that's one of the things that I love about Turkey, too. He even made a reference to the UFC talking about we need to change the fans' mentality. It's not about protecting the zero. We have to allow the best to fight each other and let the chips fall where they may. It doesn't necessarily mean there's stock drops, just like in MMA. So I think little by little, hopefully we'll be making a dent in that.
You know what I believe Turkey's attitude needs to be, whether he ever says it or not? He says, before you ever get to the real big money, I want to get you beat. That's the way it used to be. There used to be a thought process back in the olden days that if you did not have a loss going into your first title shot, you actually weren't ready.
Right.
You're actually a bit of a fraud. You were Milli Vanilli. You were not Anita Baker.
I like Manila Vanilla.
Right. So if you actually look at historically at the fights of the years that we look up to,
Ain't nobody know who Anita Baker is. I love Anita Baker, but that reference, I don't know. Okay.
you know what? She's always giving you the best that she's got.
God,
But anyway,
dude.
but if you look at a lot of the fight of the years, Mario, it's not like it's 35-0 against 34-0. It's always like 27-3 against 26-1.
Yeah,
there's a
battle-tested.
seasoning. There's a battle tested.
Yes.
And my view is this: fighters cannot have it both ways. We want to get paid. Okay. Well, we're not going to fight these guys. Well, I like the fact that Teofimo's getting paid. Looks like he's finally satisfied. But guess what? Then you have to go through Murderer's Row.
Exactly. Speaking of Teofimo, real quick, are you hearing that him and the Reynosos, the Canelo camp, are going to be sticking together and training? For
I
these
see
camps?
footage.
No, I've seen it too,
Yeah.
and I hope that continues because I think that is a great partnership right there, and I think he'll continue to excel, and they'll bring the best at him because there's a lot to work with right there. I really like that.
There's a lot on the line. Here's one from Hamed. If Canelo does beat Crawford and also Benavidez at 168, where would you guys rank Canelo as an all-time great super middleweight amongst guys like Calzaghe, Roy Jones, Tony, Ben, Andre Ward?
If he ends up beating Crawford and Benavidez, I think you have to strongly consider him. For me, Canelo truly is a middleweight at heart, and I think he goes down as a great middleweight in the best of his era. I want to rewind a little bit because we've been seeing on social media a lot of talk, and we've had Tarver and Bradley as guests, and we've discussed this potential matchup, and people are saying it's a done deal. It's not a done deal officially with Canelo and Crawford come September. I really was kind of, blown away by the back and forth jarring of Tank Davis and Bud Crawford. And so much so, once Tank started to get personal, talking about his wife and his family, those are lines you don't cross. In my mind, you don't cross that. I thought, this fight has to happen now. And can I tell you something? I much would rather see Tank and Bud at 147, who are closer in weight, than Crawford and Canelo. That's just me. Tank's fought there before. We know. Am I crazy? Would you not want to see that fight considering all this back and forth? And those are two big names, and they're closer in size.
Keep
and
this
I
in mind,
really
though.
like that.
Remember, Crawford's now at 54, though.
Yeah, one fight, Kim, one fight. You know what I mean? But he's close. You know what I mean? He could do 47. He can make it easy, and we know Tank could be there. Don't you find that a much more fascinating fight?
Yes, I do, because there's true hatred. See, I think Canelo
not
and
just
Crawford,
true hatred. I think there's the size. The size disparity is not great. That makes a lot more sense to me. And now we've got a great backstory. I hope there's a pivot, and I'd love to see that. I'm just putting it out there. I'd love to see Tank versus Crawford a lot more.
Talk to Turkey.
I know.
I'm telling you. You got an inside line there.
Would you not?
I don't disagree with you at all on that. By the way, I forgot to mention this because last week we had a guest. And
where did that start, by the way? Where did that beef start? I didn't know that was a beef.
Oh, it's been simmering. They've tripped back and forth before.
But was there something what was the genesis?
Well, Tank basically said, look at all these guys on their knees going to Turkey for the big money, but I'm a star. But also everyone's saying, yeah, but we're fighting real fights and making more money than you are. They went back and forth, and then it devolved. It really devolved. By the way, we didn't even mention this yesterday or last week because I don't think anyone's taking it seriously. But death, taxes, and the Tyson Fury retirement announcement.
Gosh,
I mean, come on.
I forgot about that.
How seriously do you take this one?
About as serious as one of Elton John's retirements.
Yeah, or Rolling Stones.
Or Rolling Stones just doesn't happen.
Retirement.
He's going to retire until that Joshua payday is in front of him. I mean, look, does he need to? No, he's got a ton of dough, and I'm sure he's living really comfortably. But it's hard.
But this is what they do.
This is what they do.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't see Tyson Fury that had much slippage or was war torn or looked weathered and stuff. I just saw a guy lose to a very very talented Usyk in a close fight.
Right.
So I don't think he's done for.
And whether we like it or not as Americans, Joshua Fury is huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge.
Nothing wrong with that.
In the UK.
Final flurries.
Moving on to final flurries. Mario, I wanted to spotlight this guy. We haven't really talked about him a lot, but on Friday, all over Twitter, everyone was wishing the great Marco Antonio Barrera a happy 51st birthday. By the way, they share the same birthday with Muhammad Ali and Alexander Usyk. I guess those guys are pretty good, too.
Good day to be born.
But Marco Antonio Barrera, 67-7, 44 knockouts.
One of the greats.
Turned pro at age 15. What's your favorite moment from the baby-faced assassin?
Look, I love, obviously, when he beat Hamed and he was an underdog and Hamed had all this buzz and momentum. People thought he was going to murder
within 3 rounds.
Barrera within 3 rounds. He was this huge puncher. I love that moment. However, my favorite is Boxing After Dark, the kickoff with Kennedy McKinney. That fight was great.
February 3rd, 1996.
Wow, very good, Kim. That fight was great. That moment was great. It kicked off Boxing After Dark. I loved it. That's what made me sort of fall in love with that series.
Yeah.
And look, obviously, I was at the wars with him and Morales.
Oh,
I love
all 3.
Yes, I love that. And I'm a big Morales guy. I love both of those guys. But that particular fight was my favorite moment. But I'll tell you what I really like about Barrera, and you don't see this in a lot of fighters. He suffered 2 pretty bad defeats against Junior Jones. The fact that he was able to dust himself off, reinvent himself, come back, be champion again, that's incredibly impressive and shows all the heart that man has along with all that talent.
He was a part of the group, and me and Doug Fisher have talked about this. When we first broke out into the boxing beat in the mid to late 90s, we didn't even realize how blessed we were that if you went to Forum Boxing, you got to see the Marquez brothers, both Rafa and Juan Manuel, Barrera, and the best flyweight I've ever seen, Mark Too Sharp Johnson. We were blessed. And this is what I mean by the activity. So he wins his first world title, WBO 122-pounder, in 1995. So he's still very young. But check this out. He had 5 fights that year. So nowadays, if a guy wins a world title, what happens? They become twice-a-year guys, right? Mm-hmm. Whether they're pay-per-view or just solid. The very next year, in 1996, he fought 5 times.
Beautiful.
Now, in 97, when he lost the rematch to Junior Jones, he only fought once. But by 98, he fought 4 times. By 99, he fought 3 times. 2000, he fought 4 times, leading in, and that was part of the year with Eric Morales.
Which was war.
Which was a war. And then by the time he beat Hamed, then he became twice a year. But again, he had already banked like 50 fights.
Right.
But
huge difference.
I'll never forget. He loses to Junior Jones in the rematch at the Hilton. I was at that fight. That fight was actually very close. Okay, and his jab, Gary Gittleson, our friend, he managed Junior Jones. He actually said after the fight, Junior said, that Mexican got a lot better technically. He said, that jab, I didn't see it the first fight because he got knocked out on the Roy Jones, Mike McCallum card in Tampa.
I remember.
So this is how much different the game is. Marco Antonio Barrera honed his skills. He got taken off HBO because of the 2 straight losses. He fought at like Caesar's Tahoe and the Tropicana on KCAL Channel 9 shows, local shows that only we could see out here that Forum Boxing would do. So he probably went from hundreds of millions, $100,000 paydays, like $500,000, $600,000, to maybe probably $50,000. I don't know if any fighter does that anymore.
He's a real fighter. He's a true fighter. So there's a roundtable discussion. I don't know if you've seen it on social media. It's all in Spanish, but it's great. And you could have subtitles and hit the translation button. But it's Barrera, Morales, Marquez, and Chavez. And they're all talking. And it's so great. And Chavez is such a shit stirrer. He gets everybody going right there. But it's so cool to see the camaraderie and to see those legends. And that's an era, man, that I don't think we'll ever see. We're lucky and blessed.
Barrera is a top 10 Mexican. And him, Morales, and Marquez, in my view, look, no one's going to fill Babe Ruth of Mexico. That's Chavez. But they did an admirable job of carrying the torch. And on my latest column, K9's Corner, I pay tribute to Barrera. And I have to tell you, as one of the 3 people out of a 25-man panel on Ring Magazine to say Hamed is not going to... People were literally mocking me.
Yeah, you called that. I remember that.
That
was one of your few good calls.
Finally, well, blind acorn. I got my squirrel. So I'm at the press conference, and if you don't, I don't know if you recall this, but Mills Lane's actually the promoter of that fight. Let's get it on promotion.
Is that right?
Yeah, he had a company.
That.
So I was one of the few people. I said I think that Hamed is ready to be beat because he had shown cracks against McCullough, Augie Sanchez, and Cesar Soto. And I'm thinking, man, Barrera's actually getting better. And this is where I knew something was wrong. The night before Vargas Trinidad, HBO had a Friday night show at the Venetian, believe it or not. Hopkins fought Antoine Eccles, and Barrera fought Jesus Salud. He was the undercard. And on HBO, I don't know if we can even say this anymore. So after the fight, Jim Lampley's on camera. They're wrapping it up. And Emmanuel Stewart was in the corner of Hamed. Classic line. And Jim Lampley goes, well, Emmanuel, you're going to be facing this man next in April against Prince Hamed. What do you think? And what happened was Hamed had the choice, Morales or Barrera. But because Barrera had lost, supposedly, even though I thought he beat Morales, they said, take the guy who lost. It's the lesser of two evils, right? And Emmanuel Stewart just goes, I got to tell you, Jim, we picked the wrong Mexican. We picked the wrong. That. And he flat out knew it. And he said, Steve, I kept trying to tell Hamed's camp, don't look at the result.
By the way, can I tell you, though? I think Morales would have been all wrong for him, too.
Oh, I know. And Marquez, he had ducked Marquez 3 years earlier.
All three of them. The thing about Hamed would made him so special were his reflexes.
And the power.
But all the three guys we just described, Marquez, Morales, and Barrera, are fundamentally sound. And they've got the balls to stay in the pocket and counter with you. So I think all three would have been too much for Hamed.
Mario, were you at Hamed? Yes. In different ways. Mario, were you at the Hamed fight?
I was not, because I remember I was watching it at my cousin's
That's
house.
The most electric atmosphere.
Didn't he get thrown, like they threw beer at him?
The Corona shower when he came in.
When he came out on his flying carpet.
And then he wouldn't flip over the rope, and everyone's like, ooh.
And I remember he tried antics with Barrera. Barrera got him and smashed his head. He wasn't taking that.
In that particular night, the British fans were dominating the Mexicans. The Mexicans were very nervous, okay? The British thought, we're going to slaughter this guy. And when he turned over that left hook and lifted Hamed off the canvas looking like a floppy fish, the fight was literally over then, and the Mexicans rose, and I said,
oh, it's on.
Oh, my God. And it was one of the most, me and Doug.
Was that at Mandalay Bay?
It was at MGM Grand, and all the rooms were booked. And Doug said, Steve, if we go, we have to arrive Friday, we have to leave after the fight. And we're like, oh, God, okay. Me and Doug were so excited and juiced up, we could have ran home. We could have ran. I mean, we literally said this is the greatest drive we've ever had because we just kept talking about the fight for 4 straight hours. And great thing is we got home at 4 o'clock in the morning, slept in our bed. But one of the 5 best nights I believe Doug Fisher and I ever had covering the sport of boxing. And Barrera, I think he's actually underrated in retrospect. I really do. Mario, what was like the Intuit Arena like for UFC?
Yeah, this past weekend at the Intuit Dome, home of the Clippers. It's an awesome arena. I went there the week prior for WWE, taking my boys. It's great, man. Whether you see a game or you see a concert or you see some fights. And kudos to my guy Dana. He was under a lot of pressure to move the venue to Vegas because of the fires. He said, no. LA, I do things my way, and LA could really use something to get behind right now. It was sold out. The fights were awesome. The only bit of a monkey wrench was Arman Sarukian was going to be fighting Islam Makhachev for the championship. He pulled out the night before. He said he hurt himself trying to cut weight. Word was that he was about 10 pounds heavy. This kid, by the way, I don't even know why he fights. His dad is worth like $150 million. And you usually don't see rich kids fight. And the fact that he's a tough dude, and I give him props. That was, when do you see that, right? So he wasn't able to do this. This Brazilian guy who was already going to be on the card stepped in, Renato Moicano, and Makhachev does what he does, got him at a Dar, submitted him. But the whole night was incredible. The highlight was probably Umar Nurmagomedov versus Merab Dvalishvili. These just high-level wrestlers that kept a lot of it on its feet, and it was back and forth. Merab, just with this incredible cardio, ended up pulling the victory off. But I still say, most bang for your buck, people got there as early as 3 p.m.,
Really?
Kim. We were there all the way till 10 p.m. I got there around 6-ish, and I was there till 10. And it was a lot of fun. So, that was a great way to kind of escape all the craziness that was going on in LA. My wife had a great time. We were there, and it was our date night, fight night.
How state-of-the-art is that venue?
Beautiful. Can't get nicer. And the seats light up in the hole, and the sound and everything. It's awesome. Not a bad seat in the house. It's probably one of the coolest venues I think I've been to.
I've suggested to a couple promoters, which ones, that, hey, do a fight night there. We need venue.
You need a fight. You're going to love it. And there's not a bad seat in the house. Yeah. There's not a bad seat in the house. And the sound is incredible. Awesome. Awesome to watch a show, a concert, or to see fights.
Mario, real quick, NFL playoffs. Old WWE reference. Is Danny Davis refereeing the Chiefs games? This is farcical, what I see on those games.
You see every pundit like Cowherd and Skip Bayless and Shannon Shaw, all these guys, they're like, come on, man. Like, enough's enough. You guys are already good with the Chiefs. Why do you need the refs to... It's like... It's like they want all the Swifties and the Chiefs to be there because they know it's better for ratings and for the league. But please tell me the Bills have a good chance of beating them.
They have a shot, but they're going to have to try.
They play them in Buffalo, right?
No, Kansas City had the best.
They play them. I thought they played them in Buffalo.
Buffalo, I believe, beat them in the regular season. I think Kansas City had the better record, though.
Ooh.
And
oh my gosh.
And when you play Kansas City, you're not going to be able to have these 12, 13 play drives. You got to hit shots.
Yeah.
I thought Buffalo got really lucky because they got really conservative.
Who do you think would have been better against the Chiefs to beat them?
Ravens.
Baltimore? Really?
I do. Ravens lost by a toe. Remember opening night? They lost by a toe.
No, I know, but
and I did want to see Lamar kind of get over the top. I think he's a very exciting player.
I love Lamar. He's great.
And I
love Josh Allen too.
And my Lions ran out of defense. That's a shame. But by the way, Jaden Daniels, he's special. That's a special guy.
Hey, listen, I'm going to be in Philly this weekend. It's going to be big with BKFC and the Eagles game. Yeah. So it's going to be wild out there. But I wouldn't. I just would like to see someone other than the Chiefs go.
Right. You know what? I'm with you. Detroit. But anyway, next week we're gonna have actual fights to talk about, and the plan is to bring in Jim Lampley to preview Morel Benavidez, talk all things boxing. Safe travels to you out there, and we'll be back. So next week, return of the 3 Knockdown Rule. Till the next round, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.